Hello and welcome to the Holy Hour podcast, the bi-weekly all cure podcast. And I'm joined by Chaz. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
It's spooky weather.
Yep, this is our official Halloween episode, one way or the other. And yeah, it's my favorite time of year, even though I wouldn't know it this year. But I still keep waiting for the spirit to kick in, but we're here.
I gotta say, your Halloween costumes are on point.
Oh, thanks, man.
They are amazing, and I'm jealous. Well, here's the thing: I didn't celebrate Halloween as a kid, so I wasn't allowed to. So we went out every Halloween night, and we went to a buffet, and that's what we would do every Halloween. So I got to dress up one time when I was a kid, and I was Superman, but that was before my mom got married to my stepfather. So let's not dive into that. But now that I see, when I had kids, it was a foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
My wife was all excited about it and let's carve pumpkins and do this and do. I'm like, what are we talking about? What is this stuff? And I love, I'm a huge horror movie fan and stuff like that. But that's a whole year round kind of thing.
Right.
And I never really, even as an adult, I didn't hone into there's a specific time of year where you celebrate all the creepy stuff that you're not supposed to celebrate. Yeah. So what are you going at as of this year? If we can say.
Yeah, well, I guess this will either come out. We've got a bunch of half episodes, so all our kind of release dates are all over the place. But this will either come out right on Halloween or shortly after. So by that point, we are gonna try to have some people in our backyard for the first time. We're just gonna do the all outdoor, so we're under the mercy of the weather. But I'm still kind of feeling the Star Wars vibe from that episode with Scott, and I was gonna go full Palpatine because I figured this was the year to get as shitty as old man as possible, and but then you can't actually find a good cloak without it costing hundreds of dollars. So I had this kind of shitty thin cloak, and then I was like, I don't want to just end up with makeup all over my face of fake wrinkles and stuff. So at the last minute, I saw a picture of my man Walrus Man from the first Star Wars New Hope, the dude who gets his arm cut off and everything. So I found an alien mask that I think I can mutate into his walrus head. So it's still a work in progress as of now. But
with or without arms?
Without. So I'm going to be walking around drinking my blue milk and not have an arm. Yeah, and it might not be quite as cool of a jacket, but I'm kind of banking on this whole being out in the dark in a yard. So if I have the giant walrus face going, then hopefully that'll convey enough. So we'll see. I might not pull this one off. It might be my biggest challenge yet, but
I have faith.
Thank you. It's weird. It's kind of the same boat. Being the third youngest kid, I never really. My brothers were kind of over Halloween by the time I was still pretty young, and so I felt like I did kind of get robbed of my childhood Halloweens too. We always loved it around the house and just hung out and stuff, but we never really dressed up after a certain age. I only did my first few as a kid, and then I was like, I kind of want to dress up still. Everyone's like, that's dorky, man. Nobody does it. So somehow I just kind of went full throttle with it every year since knowing my wife. We've had some kind of party or gone somewhere and it drives her crazy. She's such a good sport with it, but she's just like, whatever, and then she always ends up throwing her costume together the day of or whatever, and it's still better than all ours. I'm thinking about it in July and shit, but she really nails it. But so it'll be fun. And
awesome.
We'll see. One of these years I'm going to do Simon, from Disintegration Era, get the big. But I don't know if anyone's going to catch that one around there.
You're going to get a cucumber and
Yeah, totally.
Put it in foil.
Totally. Yeah.
This is the first year I am actually putting effort into building a costume.
Oh yeah, can you
So
disclose yours yet?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's kind of stupid, but it's like every year my wife and I have gone as like she's gone as a cup of coffee and I've gone as a donut.
Right.
So this year she's going as a Venus flytrap because she's a big Little Shop of Horrors fan.
Ah, cool.
So I am going as Guy Fieri.
Nice.
So I have to do some face alterations with shaving and
right. Are you gonna dye the tips of your hair and stuff? Or
so no, I do have a wig.
Okay, good.
My hair is thinning already, and I feel like if I would have bleached it, I would have
just totally
destroyed. Yeah, I would have just gone as like a Michael Chiklis then, or some other famous bald person.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I got a shirt, and I'm reopening my ear piercings.
Nice.
And yeah, so
well,
we will see how it
amazing.
turns out.
Yeah,
so,
definitely have to post some pictures, man.
Absolutely.
I get to see that.
Yeah, my wife was like, "Are you renting a Corvette to drive around?" And I was just like, "I would if I could, but
yeah.
I think that's a little over the top." But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I was gonna go as Fat Crow, but
Yeah, yeah, as I was watching, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I guess at some point, maybe. No, yeah, I don't think I can pull it off now.
I do not have the body for that.
Me neither.
I mean, maybe as a pawn shop owner guy.
Yeah. One of those dudes,
yeah. Character actors.
Well, speaking of which, we are bringing it all together for this episode. You kind of spontaneously called me up or texted and was like, we should do a Burn episode, man. And I was like, totally. And somewhere in my head thought maybe we had covered this already, and I think we just talked about it a lot.
I think we just endlessly talked about how great that song is.
Especially from 2016 on, when it's back in the set list and everything. So it's one of those ones that comes up. But I feel like I did a Halloween episode super early on where I kind of did a quick ranking of what is the spookiest Cure song or whatever. And, it either landed somewhere at 2 because I went with Lullaby, the obvious choice for 1. But I almost feel like maybe I disqualified Burn because if you take the Crow element out of it, then it's not really any more like spooky than like Prayers for Rain or something. It's definitely got
you got a dude coming back from the dead, like just picking people off.
Yeah, but I mean that's not really in the song, like if you associate.
Well, I know, but I mean, yeah.
So, but I see what you mean, and I think you can't not associate it with the Crow. So it's about as for the movie as you can get, but when you really kind of strip it aside, it's just badass more than really spooky song or anything, So it's like, so I don't know, but
I think looking back on that 17 Seconds album, I think that like I feel a little bit more. If you're going to pick creepy songs, there might be like one or two out of that one.
Yeah. I think when I did my countdown, even I think I just said every song from Pornography was like number 3 or something. It's like as far as like technically creepy or scary, like there's all kinds of scary shit going on in those songs. But
Freak Show's number 1.
Yeah, Freak Show, the ultimate. Yeah, so number 1 Freak Show.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. But Burn deserves its own feature and praise for the holiday too, I think. So associated with the movie of The Crow, of course, for any younger listeners out there that might never even put either of them together for that reason. I can't imagine, but it might be possible. Do you remember your first time hearing it? When did it fall into the
First time I ever heard it was the first time I watched The Crow.
Okay.
And I remember like I was 13 when that movie came out, and it just was like it was like a movie I had to see. I was at the age
Yeah.
of, like where hormones are going crazy. I'm just starting to get into music, and you find out, I was a Bruce Lee fan as a kid, just
Okay.
because it seems like all his movies would be on rerun,
Yeah.
all the time. So I must have seen Enter the Dragon like 50 times by that point.
Right.
So, but yeah, I when I found out that his son had died in it, which I'm sure we'll get into, but like
Yeah.
it just kind of made it more important for me to see it. And we lost Kurt Cobain and uh, sorry, Brandon Lee,
Yeah.
within a short period of time. So I mean, that was a big thing on my mind back then. So
Yeah.
you kind of associate him dying for his art, kind of thing, like his father almost. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I just remember renting it from a grocery store called Lane Co., which was up the street from my house. And they had a small like VHS rental section in the back. And I think I was going to be alone one night, so I went up, rode my bike up there, rented it for 99 cents, and then brought it back
Yeah.
and watched it by myself. And yeah, I fell in love with it. And then I think I just recorded it on cable after that, which not
Yeah.
on cable, but like on like a Saturday afternoon kind of thing. And like I
Right.
had all the good stuff edited out of it, but I
Right.
still had it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that I think that's the second song used in the movie, but it fit so perfectly that it was
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
real early
yeah,
and
yeah.
pretty quiet. I mean, other than the violence and stuff, but yeah, not like
Oh
it comes
yeah,
out
yeah,
blazing with like a this is a soundtrack movie kind of thing,
yeah,
because it definitely was one of the bigger soundtracks too. It's just one of those ones everybody had, at
yeah,
that point. And but yeah, it's pretty cool that it's a super well placed song and fairly early
yeah,
on,
yeah.
and just very prominent in the whole. I mean, it's technically the best part of the movie, I think, but that's probably more my Cure fandom
That's
outshining
debatable.
my. Yeah, I'm just like, this is so badass. They should have just made like a 2 hour video for this. But yeah, it's pretty rad, and definitely that age too. I was 17ish, maybe junior
Okay,
year.
yeah,
Yeah, junior year of high
okay,
school. And yeah, it's funny because diehard Cure fan by that point, but at the same time, this was during that kind of bleak period of the 4 years that we talked about.
yeah,
It's that first 4 year gap, or I remember even as a kid being like, what the fuck, man? From like 92 was like my freshman year. This is like going into the end of my junior year of high school, and I hadn't had another new Cure
yeah.
song, so I was already kind of like thirsty for it for sure. And I guess like
You just tap it
90.
on your watch.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
come
like,
on,
come
what are we
on, how
doing?
are they letting us wait 3 years for that? At this point, it'd only been two, even. Yeah, but I almost, to a certain degree, felt like in hindsight, I took it for granted in a sense of what a cool song it was, like because there
Yeah,
hadn't been any real Cure hiccups by that point. I was just like, yep, of course they're gonna record this incredibly awesome song just to put in this movie, and it was kind of like, yep, just
yeah,
cool, another
yeah.
cool Cure song, and move on. But
It,
definitely, yeah. I remember. I think I saw it in the theater. Yeah, with my brother's friend and stuff, because he was super into it, and we were just like
okay,
that.
that's
That
cool.
scene was just like, yeah, that was Cure fan chills, where I just wanted to stand up like Mr. Bean or something and point to the movies. It's like, that's my band, my favorite band. But so I was very proud they made it to the big screen. So they were gonna make it.
Which we talked about before in our movie episode, which I'm sure we'll probably have to crank one of those out
Yeah, probably a whole
in the
new
near
batch that
future.
I'm not even aware of, but yeah.
Yeah, it
But
was just like they hadn't been on a major soundtrack
yeah, it's
at that
crazy.
point. They put Fascination Street was on that Lost Angels movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a song on, what the hell was the name of that movie in the early 80s? It was like, I think Grinding Halt was on it, and it was
Yeah, some weird New York thing.
Times Square. Times
Yeah,
Square. So yeah, so this was like their first
like legit.
legit,
Yeah,
and like they did it by putting their own song out, which is just Robert and Boris, but still, it's like
yeah,
they still like they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, it's so
So
pure and so perfect. I mean, it's
yeah,
everything, especially if like, yeah, like if you're a diehard Cure fan, you're gonna be so happy. And if you've never heard the actual Cure and you only know of the Mystique, then that's exactly what you would
yeah,
think a Cure, every Cure song was like. It's like, of
yeah.
course, yeah, it's some zombie
It
Avenger dude. That's gonna be a Cure song for sure.
I wish we had like some kind of Google or Twitter back then, just so you could see the arc of like how many people had just got into the Cure
Yeah,
just by that song.
true.
Like I would like to see what kind of gateway drug that was for a lot of people
Yeah, for sure.
in that time. So because that soundtrack was massive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So which we'll get
especially
into, but
continuing that momentum thing, yeah, like of
yeah,
just like Disintegration got so many, and then like carrying over into Wish, which did so good, and
yeah.
Friday on
I
Love
mean, you go
stuff, and
back
then
to Head on the Door, like it's
yeah,
just
you could
it
see
was
the
just like a snowball.
this is
That's just
definitely not the
yeah,
first dip, but yeah, it is just so odd that they hadn't done. You would kind of just think it, even just like it had
yeah.
to have been on something. I think we went over that when we did the movie one. We're just like, geez, it had to have been something before. It's like, no, no.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I
those,
think you had like New Order
yeah,
on a ton of stuff. You had Morrissey and the Smiths, and you had uh fuck I can't remember what, like all these contemporaries
yeah,
are on all these soundtracks dating back to like the early 80s, mid 80s, all the way on, and they just weren't a part of that, and I don't get it.
yeah. I mean, I think,
But hey, I mean, if we got a burn out of it, I'm do it again.
yeah. And they still haven't really done a lot. I mean, they've definitely popped up on tons of
Yeah.
stuff, but they're always using like old songs and the old classics and stuff usually. But I mean, it's
Uh,
still pretty rare that they wrote like a specific song for a movie soundtrack.
well, they did Judge the Dread
Yeah,
song, which okay. They
yeah.
did what else did they do? Didn't they do one for
That's like the
X
X
Files?
Files, yeah. And even with
Yeah.
those, you don't really know how many of them were specific. I mean, they might have just had it on hand,
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
true.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you never really know how much of this maybe he even had kind of the idea down before going into it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of odd that they still don't really do that very often. So, yeah, we wouldn't hear anything for a couple years after this too. So it was definitely during that lull gap and the losing the
Yeah.
Pearl, and Simon was having troubles, and Boris is to gonna be out after this song. So I guess going into some quick Cure history with the song, I guess maybe seems like a
Yeah,
good time.
absolutely. What a way to kick in the door, like with in between days,
Yeah,
and then just exit on Burn
yeah,
like for Boris.
totally.
Yeah,
It's it's a
that is great bookends right there.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty amazing that you can end on such a wonderful swan song of like, geez,
Yeah,
that's a one to go out on, because that is really one of the standout features of this song is just like how badass the drums are. I mean, the
yeah.
actual recording has so much cool shit going on that for
Oh
years I
yeah,
just always loved the song, but then when you finally see it live, even with Jason playing it, you just are like, whoa, that's the drums on that song are amazing. It's just such
yeah.
a cool, I mean, it's the whole tune really, but yeah,
I would still love to see Boris play it. Like
yeah, that would
that's
be badass. That's
yeah. Jason is so robotic, and not that that's bad or anything, but like
yeah,
he's just such a robot back there that like I like to see somebody like Boris just back there
yeah,
going to town on it. So, but something we'll probably never ever see. But
yeah,
you
it's
know,
it's pretty nuts because it is such like a cool, like compared to like some of the other songs, it isn't as robotic feeling, even though it does have
yeah,
like that kind of disintegration or want feel even almost or something, but at the same time there is more kind of feeling, I feel like, in the drums for this song, that definitely has more emotion to it. It doesn't sound as like intentionally robotic or looped or anything,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But
yeah,
um, so yeah, he said the whole thing. One of the big quotes that are really, there's not really much floating around out there on this, and even this, I felt like I read it somewhere, but I think it was just like YouTube interviews and stuff. But Robert finally at one point said the whole thing was turned around in like 2 days. I just had the idea and we recorded it. Let's see, referring to him and Boris went in. So yeah, they went in. It's the quote was like me and him in the studio, very much like how I did the Top album. He just sort of jammed the drums and I just started playing along. So yeah, it's kind of a strange, very solo-ish if Robert was going to do something. So it is an argument against what we normally say of like the Top, what? You know, it's like, and this is like, I guess, yeah, more shit could sound like this if he just jammed with Boris or somebody. But
this is where I would say I'm not going to belittle Lowell, but I think this is what happens when you have like a real progressive drummer in the studio with you, and probably somebody that's going to tell you yes or no, and not just be, you know, go along with what you're doing.
Right.
I think somebody's going to have his own voice in there, and I think with that you get something like this. Like, I don't know how it would have turned out if anybody else was in there. Like, I'm giving a lot of credit to Boris, but I mean,
it sounds like if he just started playing this beat, I mean, it's pretty rad that Robert would come up with all that cool shit on top of it. But at the same time, I mean, that's what inspired him to start playing that. Then you do kind of have to give all the credit to Boris too, you know. And it's like, and probably the same way, like he's saying with the Top, like Shake Dog Shake or something might have been him finally playing with Andy and being like, whoa, cool.
Maybe,
you know, like rad drums, you know, and something like that, where he does kind of cut loose. Because part of me is kind of like, you know, like we've mentioned with the revisionist stuff or whatever, of like, well, Want's badass, and if this did carry over into the Wild Mood Swings kind of thing, I was like, man, if they did like a whole album with like bookended with Want and this, you know, and stuff like that. But it's probably, you know, that's like, you know, you kind of have to admit this was lightning in a bottle in a sense, you know, that you can't just write a whole bunch of songs like Want and Burn, you know. He's like, yeah, believe me, I would have if I could, you know. But yeah,
I'm gonna go on record and saying if Boris was on the recorded Wild Mood Swings, I don't think songs like the 13th or Gone would have been included in the actual album. Like, I don't think it would have. If they would have been B-sides. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Huh.
So I don't know. That's just my personal feeling. Just
it's hard to say.
The arc of the band when he was in it to when he's not in it, speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that he was a very cornerstone piece of that band during that time of direction and sound.
Yeah, and just so tight and such a core. You know, I think that was just like we've mentioned a million times with Wild Mood Swings, is it just feels fragmented, you know, and that's probably just because the core group isn't there, you know. So But yeah, pretty rad. Robert said it gave him an excuse to dust off his old flutes again, so that was a good. So I guess the way he does it live or in some variation was how I always wondered if it was just some kind of like bird sample or something as a kid, you know. Like I thought it was, but so yeah, it's pretty cool. Just the overall production of the song is really rad. It is like mixed really rad and just like a cool kind of classic. Like, I found it somewhere. Somebody named Chuck New is the producer.
Okay.
I didn't see it anywhere. I couldn't find my actual CD for some reason of the Crow soundtrack. I don't know if you have any like credits handy of the record or that, but
produced by Robert Smith and Brian Chuck New, and Chuck is in like quotation, so I guess it's his nickname.
So Brian Chuck New. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, even maybe if I look it up with Brian, I could see if he did some other stuff, but I couldn't find anything on Chuck.
No idea.
But yeah, it's pretty rad. I think it sounds like all the levels are cool. Nothing's too like up front, you know. It feels very classic Cure.
It felt very, I don't know, it felt very Disintegration to me. Just the production of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't. I think it's a brilliant song. So I think everything they did on that song, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Just listening to it like with headphones on now, and like the technology of like compared to what you had, when you were 13 to 17,
Right.
of like the you got the foamy things going over your ears, like just being able to hear everything now,
Yeah.
it blows me away.
Totally. Yeah. It's all kinds of crazy shit going on in there, and that cool kind of sequenced part,
Yeah.
That's cool whenever they can kind of work that in and still have it be a rocking song. And I guess as far as credits though too, from what I could piece together, maybe you could tell looking at it there, does he credit the full Cure band though at that point, which is Robert, Boris, Perry, and Simon?
I don't
Even
think
though he's
so.
pretty much gone on the record of just saying it was him and Boris that recorded it all. So that's pretty sweet of him if he credited everybody.
No, it's just credited as the Cure. Oh no, it does say Simon on bass.
Okay.
It says Robert Smith vocals and guitar, Simon Gallup on bass, and Boris on drums. Oh, and Perry on guitar and keyboard.
Okay. Yeah.
So according to this is the newest repress.
Okay.
From what, 2 years ago.
So even if they revised anything, but yeah, that makes sense. He would probably just say that unless he's totally forgotten and senile. And Simon was like, I was totally there too, man. But yeah, I think he made it pretty clear in those interviews that it was just him and Boris, like you said, just totally. But I guess that makes sense. But that's cool of him. A lot of people wouldn't do that. Getting that crow money,
Hey, I'm proud of him. You did a good job there, Robert. If that's what you did.
Yeah. Leave your boys hanging.
Yeah.
I was surprised looking at the lyrics too. Like in that first verse, he says "bird mad girl" in it. Did you catch that? That's pretty rad. Yes. I never knew that. I was like, I don't know what the hell I thought he was saying. I think I always just mumble when I'm singing along to it.
No, this is one of their most mumbliest songs ever.
Yeah, I was just like reading along. I was like, oh shit, yeah, it's the part. Let's see if I could just pull that one part. This trembling, adored, tousled, bird mad girl. Every night I burn. So it's like the end of like the first pretty much verse there. So that's pretty cool. Not that that's an absolute nod to his song so much as, but I don't think that's like in a full on expression or anything, is it?
I don't think so. I've never heard it before.
Just another one of those bird mad girls,
one of those chestnuts.
Yeah. So, it's like, I don't think I've heard that before, but who knows?
So I did find stuff about Chuck New, or Brian Chuck New. He has written and composed over 400 titles. Spent most of his time in the 80s and 90s in London. I'm looking at his Discogs. He helped put out Def Leppard, Pyromania, Billy Ocean.
Wow. Caribbean Queen era?
Yeah. I think so. Nice. Didn't he sing Get Out of My Dreams and Get in My Car? Yeah. Hey. He did some work with Jazzy Jeff.
Whoa.
Billy Ocean again. So yeah, he looks like he's like a legit dude.
Okay.
They should sign him up again. Flock of Seagulls.
Okay.
So yeah, so he was legit. So
cool. Shit. All right, Chuck, let's get him back.
Oh, he did a lot of hip hop work, which is cool.
That's
I like that. Cool Mo D.
Oh, which Cool Mo D? He was my favorite rapper. I'm not a big fan of rap, but Cool Mo D.
Is he really?
Yeah, I had a huge.
How You Like Me Now?
Oh shit! Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Damn. So yeah.
Now it all makes sense.
Oh yes. Hey, I like that diversity in the recording. Right?
Yeah, he's probably the one that like cool. Inspired Boris to play like a cooler beat or something. It's like, come on,
probably,
man. Come on.
Like, is that what some Cool Mo D?
Yeah, some Jazzy Jeff and some Cool Mo D on it.
Oh yeah,
cut loose.
Oh my God, he helped record Parents Just Don't Understand.
Wow.
So
Damn.
Yeah, this is my favorite guy that recorded a Cure album.
Even his Cure fans were learning something
Yeah.
new here. That's
Wow.
ah.
I would probably say it has something to do with the studio,
Yeah.
with Atlantic Records.
He
Like,
just happened to be there.
yeah.
Robert was like,
So
I got this.
yeah, he's like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So yeah, as far as like the actual song, I remember early on one of the episodes we had you on. I think it was like tail end of Wild Mood Swings era or something, and he kind of hit me on the spot there and asked if it was the last great Cure song.
yeah.
And I was all like, "What? Of course not, Chaz. Jeez." And then like time passed. I kept thinking about it, and I was all like, "Last great Cure song." I was like, "You could take that a lot of different ways." And I was like,
You could.
"Shit," because I was all like, "Of course they've had awesome songs. Of course they've had
They have.
good songs." But shit, maybe it was like the last, like, because if I'm ranking them is how I kind of like looked at it. I was like, I don't know if I like any songs since More Than Burn, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, there were some bangers. Like, there's, Underneath the Stars,
yeah,
and
want,
the only one want. There's some good songs throughout from that point on until present.
yeah.
But
Even
there's
like
nothing.
Treasure
Yeah,
and Last Day of Summer, but that's more for like
yeah,
sentimental reasons and shit, you
yeah,
know? So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it might be like the last, like if I was ranking them, it probably would be the last highest ranking one because it's just more of just because it's such a great song, not a testament of how they've not topped it since, but at the same
yeah.
time, it's just a really cool tune. So I was like, damn you,
Now,
Chaz. You got
let me
me.
hit you with another question.
Okay.
Is this anywhere near? Would it be top 10, top 20 Cure songs?
20 is probably could sneak in there
Around
for
there?
me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I just
Yeah.
got so many that would cram in that top 10 that I don't think it would make it quite in there. Live maybe, just because
It's
I'm
so good
still,
live.
yeah, I think like just still, I don't know if I'm just still clinging to the tingles that, of like, because it's
Yeah.
so foreign and, like a rare thing at this point. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I'd say safely in the top 20 maybe. But how about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably say top 20, probably closer to like top 15 or so.
Yeah.
I think if you just put in the fact that like it's probably their last great song that they've written,
Mm-hmm.
and the subject matter that it was their first like movie song,
Yeah.
and the fact that Robert was a fan of the Crow comic,
Yeah.
adds to it too. So it goes along with his, Charlotte sometimes kind of thing,
Yeah,
where he's
totally.
inspiring from the stuff that he reads.
And it makes the
So
lyrics
yeah,
cooler,
yeah,
like knowing that
yeah,
he's really channeling that and stuff too, and it wasn't just
yeah,
some kind of gibberish that he's just, like thinking
yeah.
of
Like
dark
they,
things,
yeah,
or something,
yeah.
That's like,
Or they threw a script at him, and they're like, you have a day to read this and get us a song.
right.
So I felt that it was a real personal song to him because he was so invested in the comic already that it just kind of went hand in hand.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would
Which,
probably like if I added all this stuff together, it's moving up my list, and yeah, especially this time of year, it's right at the top.
yeah,
So
totally. And I guess, like you said, good time to bring that in is that he was asked, when they were making the movie, they
yeah,
initially approached him for permission to use the Hanging Garden because in the comic that's the when they're drawing or the
yeah,
scene there where he's becoming full on the Crow and putting the
yeah,
makeup or whatever. It's the lyrics from the Hanging Garden are
yeah,
actually written in there, and then he was like, "Oh, in classic Robert move, no, I'll do you one better. I'll write you." And they're like, "No, we just kind of want to use the Hanging Garden." It's like, no, no, no. I'm gonna write you a whole new song.
yeah.
So it
So
worked though in this case.
I have a I have a feeling about this is that I think they would have asked for the Hanging Garden
Uh huh.
and they would have said yes, but I have a feeling that they also would have had some other bands at the time record that
Yeah.
Like to cover the Hanging Garden, and that's how it would have come out.
Ugh.
I
Yeah.
think with I mean, I don't know how it would have turned out, but
Yeah.
um, I think because I was reading up about it, and they had asked um, New Order to re-record "Love Will Tear Us Apart"
Yeah.
for the album, and it didn't work out, so they just had um, Nine Inch Nails cover Joy Division.
Yeah.
So, which the song I think turned out great, and I think it fits perfectly in the album and
Yeah.
or the soundtrack and in the movie. But I would have seen something them doing something like that to The Cure if they would have
Mm-hmm.
just said, "Yeah, go ahead." So I'm really happy that Robert actually, uh, was compelled to write a song about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, how cool is it to like open up a comic book and like see your lyrics there?
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy shit, I'm an inspiration of this. Like
Right.
that would have blown my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, I guess getting into the comic a bit there, James O'Barr comic, I guess that's how you pronounce it, O'Barr
Graphic, yeah,
graphic
yeah,
novel.
Bar, yeah, graphic novel. I guess
Yeah,
would be the. I say it is. Is it a graphic novel? I mean, I would say
I
yes,
don't
but it's
know.
like
Yeah.
it's not a long. It's not long. It's
Okay.
not like it's not like The Walking Dead or like some other like
Yeah.
Why the Last Man or The Watchmen. It's a relatively short
Is it just a one-off
little.
too, or is it like a
No, there's
series?
a bunch of different books,
Okay.
but the books aren't that long. Like it. I was rereading. I think I read to book three, and it took me like 20 minutes at the most.
Okay.
So it's they're shorter but they're I watched a small like documentary, not documentary, but it was like an interview with James Abar
Mm-hmm.
for the Crow DVD or Blu-ray. So I was watching that today. And
Okay.
have you ever read anything about him or looked anything
Nah,
up? Okay.
nah, I don't know what his deal is.
Dude had a life, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So his mother didn't, I don't believe he knew his birth father. His mother was drunk when she had him, and he ended up living in an orphanage for a while or a group home. I don't know what they call them now.
Hmm.
But so he went to foster house and finally found a home eventually. But he was very reclusive, very put his self into just drawing and art, and to the point where his adoptive parents wouldn't let him inside the house if he was
Uh,
drawing. But he ended up, you know, kind of like getting into music, of course, and art and everything, and then ended up becoming a Marine.
oh
Like,
wow.
I was watching the little interview, and I'm like, this guy is not like if you picture him, he looks nothing like a Marine. Like he's
Right.
very just the way he puts himself out there. Like it's not. It's very like reclusive and very quiet, kind of like a Jay Mascis kind of like interview almost, like where
Right.
you're not getting a lot of emotion out of the guy.
Right.
But when it came to the point where he was talking about drawing the comic, like you could see him getting emotional about it. Just like I would have to start at one point and I couldn't stop until I was finished, and however long it took, it's how long it took. There's
Wow.
no time frame and all this. And when I have exhausted all my emotions and feelings and everything, it came out I was done. So apparently his fiance or girlfriend was killed by a drunk driver when he was, I want to say 18 or so.
Oh geez.
And then he went to the Marines. He came back, worked on this comic book through while working at a body shop, and then was working at a comic book store doing work for their T-shirts, where the owner was like, "Hey, you got any kind of comic strips?" And he showed him what he'd been working on, and then it got passed to somebody that wanted to put it out. So
Wow.
yeah, it came out in I think '89, but he had been working on it all that time from like 1981 to like 1989.
Oh geez.
So it was definitely like he said it was it was a passion. It was like for myself.
Yeah.
Like nobody else in this world was supposed to see this at all.
Huh.
And then somehow it got published. It got the attention of somebody at a studio, and within like 2 years, it was turned around and production started on a movie already.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
I would look up to the guy. I met him a couple of years ago at a comic book convention or whatever it is,
Right.
Comic-Con thing in Philadelphia, and I got a picture with him. I wanted to talk with him, but I'm a nervous person, so like two nervous people together talking isn't really the best conversation. So and like I'm trying not to gush over the guy, but I'm just like, can I have your picture? And he's like, yeah. So
awesome.
But yeah, I would definitely look into him, and like knowing what the comic is about and then translated to the movie and to the song, it's so fucking dark and deep and sad that it's like it just makes the song and the album and the movie more impressive to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Damn. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the Joy Division references apparently too. I guess mostly like chapter names and stuff like that. Is that what it's broken up into?
And books. And then there was like just like it said atmosphere across one of the pages.
Right.
And yeah, he like I would have loved to see his fucking record collection back in like the mid '80s. And he took inspiration from, I think he said, Iggy Pop's Body and Peter Murphy's Face and Robert Smith's Hair.
Nice.
Were the three inspirations for the Crow's physique. So yeah. So yeah. It's all free online too. So I would just if you're interested and you haven't read it, just Google it and read it. But I would get a hard copy of it too, just because I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and cool that they didn't totally fuck it up then in a movie. I don't think. Maybe it's hard to say. I just rewatched it again. What do you think?
Compared to the comic book, and the thing is that he was in the interview, and then on I saw a post, like a production video of like behind the scenes thing.
Yeah.
And he was involved in it. Cool. So he was part of it from start to beginning.
Was he happy with it, you think? Or
as far as I know, judging from the interview that I saw, because the interview was, I believe, in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And then the production video was, of course, back in early 90s. He seemed to understand why they had to change certain aspects of the story.
Yeah.
It's just to move the story along, and so you're not sitting in a 4-hour movie.
Right.
But I thought they did a good job. I still take them as two different things.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going into the Lord of the Rings expecting to read the book,
right,
then you're in the wrong movie theater. Right. You should be at home reading the book. So there's liberties taken, but he was saying that during one of the pre-production meetings he was at, some like old dude was like, well, let's have Michael Jackson play the main character, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, so like he's like, so I think because he stayed on board, like a lot of this was made the way it was made.
Awesome.
Like so
yeah, I mean, it definitely has a 90s feel watching it, I mean, it's definitely there's parts where I'm just like, it feels kind of like I don't even know, I could put by like a video game or something, I mean, it just is like, you almost kind of wonder if they could do like a modernized something, but they'd probably just run the risk of screwing it up more if they did it again,
Actually, there was rumors that there's rumors that that there is a reboot in the making off the original material, and he said no originally to it, but now apparently seems like he's on board with it. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if I could see now it becoming like some sort of like HBO limited series or something
Yeah.
like that where you could actually do the source material.
Yeah, you can kind of
So
dig a little deeper in. Yeah, because all those
yeah,
like goons were so like kind of cookie cutter, like like hi,
yeah,
I'm Tintin, and
yeah.
it's like all right, this is a little corny, but yeah, it
I
definitely held up,
yeah.
I guess, for what it is too. I mean, it's just kind of a
So what's your final vote on the movie?
yeah,
Let's just talk about the movie real quick.
yeah,
Like, what's your final thought of the movie after a rewatch? Because we both rewatched it in the last
yeah.
24 hours.
I loved it for years, and then I hadn't seen it in for so many years, and rewatched it last night, and I was like, it's kicked in those first few scenes. It starts out so like just like yeah, like we're saying with the cure scene, then going into
Yeah,
like pretty much the next scene is him running on top of the buildings to the Nine Inch
yeah,
Nails,
yeah,
Joy Division cover, and it's like
yeah,
so I mean, it just goes, and that felt like it started to lose a little steam once
yeah.
it just starts
Okay.
like, or it's like, yeah, all right, and it just those goons like as he's picking them off one at a time or so like. I was like, wasn't that the same idiot that was in like Point Break or something? I don't think he even was, but he just start looking up people on their phone and
Yeah,
shit, like, but then by the end again, I kind of like was just back to it is what it is, where it is just kind of
yeah,
cool, you're not gonna get this moving story about your lost love or whatever. It's just a
yeah.
cool action movie too and stuff. So I don't know. I kind of went back to where I was by the end of it, even though I do feel like it kind of dragged a little in the middle. Like it probably could have been trimmed down or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I I I think they should have cut out a lot of the police officers, kind of Ernie Hudson's role in
yeah.
it.
They're
Um,
like, he's our
uh,
one real actor, though. Kind
yeah,
of, he's like,
I mean
but
the police chief is one of the worst actors I've ever seen in my
oh
life.
yeah, it's
He kills a lot of some of the like mojo in that movie. Like everything that's pushing it, like his bad acting, it just
yeah.
kind of gets in the way.
And it's
But
just so like
I
kind of
yeah
stereotypical boss too in that movie in that
yeah
time, and it's like
yeah yeah like you're suspended.
yeah.
Like
What?
leave your badge and your gun. Yeah. So yeah, but I agree with you 100%. Like how it's just like it's such a great opening, probably half hour of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes, where it's just like he shows up, he's the crow, he's picking off all these people. You have the side story with I'm trying to remember her name, the girl.
Sarah,
Is
maybe.
Sarah, yeah,
Yeah.
she's not really, she's a little minor character in the comic book. She's not
Yeah.
this big character
Yeah.
that she is in the movie. But even at that point, it's still good. And then like he gets in a fight with Tintin with the knives, which I think is a great scene.
Yeah.
I think that fight scene's really really well done. The scene at the pawn shop is pretty accurate to the book,
Yeah.
except he kills the owner of the pawn shop. In the movie, he lets him go. But
Mm-hmm.
even the line, "Is that gasoline I smell?" He
Yeah.
says, "Is that kerosene I smell?" in the book.
Nice.
But yeah, it's and even the scene when he's picking out the rings.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the comic also, where he's just thrown because he can feel her, like when he touches the ring that's hers.
Yeah.
So up until that point, I love the movie. Even the point where the mother gets the morphine taken out of her veins.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty awesome scene, but then it just kind of falls.
Yeah.
It just kind of gets boring a little bit. Even though I fucking love the movie,
Yeah.
it's like come on, like you don't need the sister of the main bad guy in the movie. You don't
Yeah,
need
that maybe it
the
was that
police
dude. Like
officer
that whole part, I
bullshit.
was just like, what is
Yeah,
it? I never was like convinced he was like a
she's
real.
not even in the comic.
Right?
Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like what the fuck? Why is that in there?
Yeah.
And like so, there's some stuff that could have been scraped out of there, but I think overall, I think they did a really good job staying with the source material as much as they could and still
Yeah.
getting to the end. But like even the end is kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, it gets a
I'm
little like the
it
shootout
could,
on the church there.
yeah.
Just it gets a little
It's
like, what is this like Lethal
it,
Weapon now or something? What's
yeah, and you could tell they tried to do some early like CGI stop
Yeah, a lot of
motion,
it looks
and
kind of like a CD-ROM or like a DVD
yeah,
menu or something. That
which is
opening.
what I get it, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah,
just I would like to see a reboot of it, just so I don't have to see
touch
the
that
hand
up.
in his hole, see the hole in his hand close up like that
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, but like I still love the movie. I'll still watch it. Uh, there's a lot of good stuff in it. I thought Brandon Lee did an amazing job.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's sad that he died during it,
yeah,
but you know, I think that's what I think besides him dying in the movie, I think the soundtrack is the next
yeah.
most remembered thing about that movie.
Cool. Well, let's move on
So
to that then. So you're pretty down with more than just Burn on the soundtrack? Or?
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They changed. Stone Temple Pilots was originally supposed to put a different song on that album, but
Right.
they dropped it after Brandon Lee had died, just because it said something with death in the title or whatever.
Right.
So they went with Big Empty, which is probably their most famous song,
Mm-hmm.
maybe next to Creep. Is that their other song? Big
Yeah, I
song.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. Uh, I really like the Joy Division cover. The Rage Against the Machine song I love, because I'm still love Rage Against the Machine. But
Right
that
on.
was originally a song that Zach De La Rocha wrote with his band Inside Out before Rage Against the Machine,
Okay.
Southern California hardcore band. Their 7-inch No Spiritual Surrender is probably one of my favorite 7 inches ever. It's up there like top 10.
Right on.
He absolutely destroys in that. And then they recorded a bunch of material, or they were going to record a bunch of material for a full length. And the full length was going to be called Rage Against the Machine. They broke up. Their guitarist went to become a Krishna, and Zach went on to form Rage Against the Machine, and they rewrote that song as Darkness, or Darkness of Greed. So that's a nice little history lesson.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. The one song that I was surprised I was gonna like was the Violent Femmes song.
Yeah.
I really like Violent Femmes, but like earlier, like poppier,
Yeah.
sillier kind of stuff. So this was kind of a turn to darker kind of sound, but I still dug it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have the Rollins band. I love Henry Rollins, so I can't really complain there.
Right.
The Milk Toast song by Helmet, we've already heard before because it was on Betty. Was that what it was on? Betty.
Not the one to answer
Yeah,
that.
it was like, yes, it was on the 1994 album Betty. So,
Okay.
so I think they just renamed it a different, like took out a U or something in it. But
Yeah.
anyway, Pantera covering Poison Idea. I love that idea, just because I love Poison Idea. For Love Not Lisa. It's a weird thing that I know who that band is, just because the members broke up and joined another band called Pooler, and somebody at my church had that CD, and I had to see them in concert, which is
Wow.
really weird.
Yeah, some 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon shit.
Yeah,
There.
seriously. My Life in the Thrill Kill Cult.
Right.
They had a cameo in the movie. They were the second band that was playing
Okay.
during the shootout scene. So,
Okay.
Jesus and Mary Chain, Medicine, and then Jane Silbury, which I kind of should skip over that song, but yeah, I think the whole soundtrack is one of the best that came out of the 90s, in my opinion. But did you read an article on, let's say it was Revolver or something like that, about the difference between the Crow and single soundtracks?
No.
Oh yeah, that was pretty interesting. So it's like the non-single how do they say it? Because the single soundtrack had all these singles on it.
Yeah.
That like this one has like no singles on it, but it's like it's light years better, I guess is what they were saying.
Yeah. Huh.
So
yeah, it is funny for how big and around this soundtrack is, and just the years I worked at the trade-in CD and bookshop and stuff. I'd
yeah,
see this come in so many times, and I just always had my soft spot for it just because of Burn, but at the same time it's
yeah,
always like, yeah, I guess any soundtrack, I guess, is always like, most of them don't tend to hold up over the years as far as like the average music
yeah,
fan would pawn a soundtrack probably quicker than most things, but yeah, it's one for not having a single though, like you're saying. I mean, the Cure one, any Cure fan would have it, but at the same time, they
yeah.
didn't make like a big video for it or anything. It wasn't like a hit by any means, So I don't even know if they didn't even release it as anything, did they?
No, there's some bootleggers out there that made it into like with Love Will Tear Us Apart, like on the back, like their when the Cure recorded that, as like the B side of that, but
yeah,
yeah,
it's a weird one for me. I mean, I guess because I don't like the heavier bands. I just have those top few that I loved. It's like Burn, of course, and then the Nine Inch Nails one. I wasn't even super into Nine Inch Nails and at that time. I was just kind of watched the videos, but I was like, but this one definitely won me over more. I was like, oh shit, he's down with Joy Division. Like surprised by that. I was like, okay, cool. So that was always cool, and just because it was used so well, and I was a huge Jesus and Mary Chain fan, still am. But that one I already had though too. It came out like a year earlier. It was on like some single or EP or something, and the Violent Femmes one, just like them, wasn't ever crazy about that song, but it's cool because it's them. But yeah, that's kind of where I faded out. Not that I ever really cared, it was just one of those soundtracks I have, and I would say I like that soundtrack, but I never really listened to any of the other ones. It's just how it
just
goes.
having the Cure song makes it
yeah, they put it first, so I was happy. I was just like, cool. Sometimes I'd leave it on a little longer, most times it wouldn't. But yeah, it's definitely a classic as far as soundtracks though go, I think. But I'm pretty picky with soundtrack. I can't say any soundtrack I've ever really been like, wow, this is surprisingly great. I just feel like there's always some hang up in a soundtrack.
Besides the Spinal Tap soundtrack?
Yeah, that one's pretty classic. So. But yeah, any various artist kind of thing. I'm not too big on. Yeah, it has to be like one where the one band does the whole soundtrack. I think would be the closest where I could. Which is weird because I love mixes. Yeah. But
I was gonna say we're on two different planes here. Like I love soundtracks.
Really?
Like the compilation soundtracks. Like I love those.
Nah, I just
like
feel
there's something about like getting a bunch of bands and like and just throwing a dart at them, and hopefully you're gonna get a win sooner or later. You're gonna get a bullseye. And just finding that is like it just carries you over to like more music. So
yeah, it is nice when there's like something like, I don't know, I guess like soundtracks are always weird too because they have the association factor, like, or if you really love the movie. I've definitely had ones like that where like it's not even a good song, but I like the song just because it was used in a good spot in the movie or something, like a few albums like that and soundtracks where I'm like, yeah, that's rad, I'll listen to that, but just in relation to the movie kind of thing, but
there was something about like 90s soundtracks that were like an important production of a movie. Like it completely changed from like you would always have those 80s, like the Kenny Loggins song come out on like a bunch of like instrumental tracks, or one or two songs by him, and you have one big hit. Or it's just instrumental music, and then like come around to, there were some in the 80s like here and there, but none of them were like real popular movies, so,
or it
like,
was kind of building up to where it became in the 90s where it was such a big thing to have like a awesome soundtrack.
It kind of got ahead of its away from itself, like when you get into the late 80s with like American Pie and stuff like that, where it just gotta be like, oh shit, oh my god, my computer just shut off,
oh no.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
Whoa, sorry about that, guys. We're back though. So you in there, Chaz?
Yeah, I'm here. My fucking computer is shitty. It's not shitty. The plug it goes into is shitty.
Yeah,
And I
no
and I
worries.
kicked it on accident, I think, and it turned off.
It's all right.
So
It's the
yeah.
night for the crow to bring it back from the dead. So now
Yeah,
it's got
yep, it's
even
back.
more powerful. It's come to avenge all the other previous podcast episodes, and
That
so
died. Yeah.
yeah. So, but we were winding down anyway. But yeah, we let's see. So yeah, I guess we're wrapping up about soundtracks from the '90s,
Yeah.
and I think we probably covered it. But it was a golden era for soundtracks for sure. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Did you have any favorites that like because I know you're like kind of like anti
Yeah,
soundtrack.
yeah, I'm not too big on soundtracks, but I guess the ones I liked, like I said, they were kind of more because I liked the movie too. So even a few
Yeah.
songs, if it wasn't bands I necessarily liked, so I liked like the Clerks soundtrack and the
Oh
Mallrats
yeah. Yeah.
one, and
Okay.
Empire Records we had mentioned
Oh,
off
of
air. I
course. Yeah.
think a lot of those staples from the era. The Life Less Ordinary one was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that one. But yeah, like I would throw in there the Judgment Night soundtrack,
Yeah.
but I know that's not really your cup of tea, but
Nah, yeah, but it was one
yeah.
that I know was a big one that everybody was real big on, and
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely could
It,
spot the cover in a lineup pretty easily. So,
so, but every once in a while you run into those like independent movies that had pretty decent soundtracks, like
hmm
Memento. Even though I think that might have been 2000, but like this movie God Money from the mid '90s that I really liked. A
right,
lot of punk bands, but then eventually, went into it felt like movies making soundtracks to the focus of the movie
yeah,
or I don't know because maybe like that was a quick way to make money like
yeah,
especially if your box office sales aren't going to make it like I guess the best way you can make it up is through
right. Which
bringing in money to the soundtrack so
just
yeah.
sounds like a wow. Okay, so we're dependent on the soundtrack to save this. It's like damn.
That's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there was an
are
era for it.
soundtracks a thing
I
anymore?
don't even
Like I
know.
know that
Yeah.
like outside of like you got your instrumental music and like maybe you got like a Tim Burton with like Danny Elfman rocking out a soundtrack or
Yeah.
something, but like
I think
I
feel
don't
like it has
really.
to be like a name and yeah, but I wonder if they just put them all out like digitally or if it has to be something that people, like the Stranger Things ones
Yeah,
are big and stuff, but you kind of wonder if it was like by demand more than they just released it. Like everyone's like the movie's already even out. It always seems like it's
yeah,
kind of an afterthought now than it was back then. Like even seeing some of the clips for The Crow, it was like they did it like full on albums where there was like an
yeah,
MTV thing where they were playing all the artists' videos around like what was it March I think, and then like the movie didn't come out till May I think. So we had like the soundtrack
yeah.
a couple of months before, and it's just like to get you pumped for it or so. It's like so weird. It's like who would buy? I mean, I'm sure I bought
Yeah.
it when it came out, but it's
I feel like artists have a lot more freedom of like releasing music
mm-hmm.
and it's not as much as a big deal to get on a soundtrack compare when you can put your own music out on like SoundCloud or something like that
Yeah,
where you probably make more money and get more attention by releasing an individual song than like having it added to a soundtrack so
yeah.
yeah
But
I
it
mean
was such a big deal. I mean, that was like a huge break for so
yeah
many bands in the '90s.
yeah
Like we were saying. I mean, it's just like like Lemonheads with the Mrs. Robinson thing and stuff like
yeah
that, or it's just these kind of soundtrack ones. If you can throw like a cover on a soundtrack and then have it blow up big, then that was kind of like an easy way in,
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. You get a big record deal, like for put out like at least one or two records, and
Yeah,
hopefully have something in the bank for when you get older.
when they kick you off the label
Yeah,
5 years
yeah,
later.
yeah. And you're playing in a bar, but you're still getting those.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still getting those royalty checks for the Loser soundtrack or whatever. But I remember. You look at those days of like those bands struggling, and then look at the Goo Goo Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like they hit it big with Name, but then they like fucking exploded with that Iris song.
Yeah.
For that I don't even remember the name of the movie now.
City of Angels
maybe I know it had like Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage and
pretty crazy. And even the other Cure ones, like the X-Files soundtrack, I can't really think of that one being a big deal. I mean, I guess all Cure fans probably bought it pretty quick just for a new song. It was that era where we weren't getting too much, but Orgasmo. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's about the next thing you got. But it was it was interesting. I wish they would have been able to somehow capitalize on just that one song.
Yeah.
But what was it, like another 2 years before the next album came out?
Yeah, it was a pretty big gap there. So 94. Yeah, 2 years till Wild Mood Swings. Pretty strange, yeah. But I guess this song in particular is always kind of cursed by delays and weird timings and a lot of mystery factors with it as we segue into the idea of it being played live. And how it wasn't ever played live for so long. It was like
what a tragedy.
Yeah, just so odd that it was pretty instantly loved by I think every Cure fan. I can't ever think of anyone even being like fucking sellouts or whatever the gripe would be. Like nobody
on the crow.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody seemed to gripe about it by any means. Everyone loved it. I mean, I guess as they went into like Wild Mood Swings era, it might just not have fit the sets as much.
Maybe.
Hard to say. I mean, I really don't know what the hang up would have been other than like way later, even as we talked about it on the show and stuff, it started to dawn on me maybe it was just like because Boris and him, had recovered it, maybe. And it was such like a Boris heavy thing, or maybe he just felt like since he was the only one left that actually played on the song, that he just was the only one that had any personal attachment to it even or anything. So, but
yeah, I could see that.
But he had just to know it's a rad song, So it's just kind of strange that it wouldn't make a live debut till November 3rd, 2013. I had at the Voodoo Fest, which was close to Halloween, November 3rd.
Yeah, perfect time to play it.
Voodoo,
yeah.
New Orleans, I believe it was, and I remember it was a big deal. It blew up all over like Chain of Flowers or one of those. It was like all kinds of like bad, phone footage everywhere, and stuff. But played then and then kind of stuck around. I didn't really look to see each year how many times it played, but definitely by the 2016 tour, it was played. I want to say almost every show.
I think so.
Yeah.
I remember just like as soon as that tour, the night this tour happened started, I hopped on. I was like with my phone, started at what time the set started, and then like I kept updating like Setlist FM, and then I would like peruse Facebook, Twitter, Instagram of like whoever was there just to get a set list. And like I saw that they played Burn, and then I had an acquaintance that went to another concert like 2 days later, and they played it, and he was like, "This is it's unbelievable," because like they were, nobody was expecting that they'd be able to get it, hoping that they would get it, and they really didn't disappoint and played it each night. So
so that's pretty rad. And it was talked about so much in that tour of just being everybody's like personal highlights, other than those like super rare exploding boy kind of moments or whatever that would pop up.
Yeah.
But I mean, the consistent highlight for everybody almost seemed like Burn was like, I saw it finally live and it was so good. And like we said earlier, Jason totally fucking nails the drums. I feel like it sounds a little different, but it's just equally as impressive and very cool. I like the ending better of how they do it live, where he keeps singing it and screaming it. I think it's just like a real slow fade out on the actual song of everything. And it's pretty rad. And so it's hopefully it just will stick around.
Yeah, I just got chills. Like I just remember seeing it at Madison Square Garden and like everybody going nuts, and like when that part and like everybody still sang along to it. It was and like just kicking in with him playing that flute or whatever it is. It just
recorder thing. Yeah. It's like, whoa, what the fuck is okay, cool.
What is he doing? Oh my god, it's Burn.
It's like, oh shit, something from the top. He's got his flutes out.
It crossed my mind for like a split second. Oh my god.
But so 108 times is what I saw in that set list website is what they've played now. So I mean, that's pretty impressive that's been like all since 2013. And
I think it stayed in the set list.
All the festival ones that year of, when was that now? 2019. The festivals. I think it was every festival they played it at. So that's pretty rad. And
hopefully it stays on the set list.
And I think it would go well with these new dark songs that if they ever come out, and whatever this imaginary tour will be. Can't imagine. I mean, if they're playing like Want and stuff, it's not that crazy different. It could make it fit pretty good. No,
it's not. I mean, I wish we could write the set list, but
I just still. I mean, that might be like one of my top. People are always like, "What are your questions you would ask Robert Smith?" I'd almost be like, "What the fuck was the delay on that?" Like, it's just such clearly a great song, and like, why? Why ever? I could see if he did bring it back just as like a one-off exploding boy kind of thing, where he played it a few times on a whole tour. But I mean, clearly they got the reaction they wanted from it, and it's been played constantly now. So I don't know who brought it up or what. I wonder if there's some kind of story there, just like why now? And I'm glad, but at the same time, it's so curious. It's almost drawing his attention to it would make it bad, or he's just like, oh yeah, it's like no, keep doing it.
Talk about Burn, guys.
But just curious, what the hell? Why would you wait? I mean, it's just another huge testament to that band, I guess, where it's just like, oh my god, if you had a song like this, how would it not be like your opener every night for the rest of your career? It's just like it can be a throwaway song.
An amazing opener.
Yeah, I think that would be too.
Or even a start into the for like the encore.
Yeah. I kind of feel like they've done that at times. Maybe not.
I want to say that I saw. It might have been the one in
Madison Square.
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
But Merriweather. I want to say it was then, but I don't really know. I don't really remember.
Yeah, it seems like it would be. Yeah, it has such a great opening and builds up so awesome. So
I can't imagine the people in the band wouldn't want to play it. I mean, I'm not a musician, so I don't know, but like that, like every part of that song like shreds.
Right.
And, like I don't know. Like to me it would have been like, hey, the crowd, like, I think they would go nuts over this, or maybe they just thought, I don't know, maybe they're living in a bubble and they don't.
Like, oh yeah, that's a good song. It's like, really?
Yeah, because I think if you did a poll of Cure fans, that it would have to be on everybody, because they play 30 songs or so. And like, if you made a set list of all their songs, I'm sure you have a couple outliers there that just want to like hear the top or the self-titled front to back. But I would imagine that would be within that 30 song list.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna be upset if they don't play it.
Yeah, I know. That's I got the taste for it now. We gotta see.
Oh my god.
So yeah, for you, a really anti-soundtrack. I guess it did later reappear in 2004 on Join the Dots too. So it's good that they included that because there
Yeah,
were a few
yeah,
that didn't quite make that for whatever reason. But so I think a lot of people might have only heard it from there even and didn't have the old soundtrack experience. But either way, I guess that covers
possibly.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any of the Crow sequels by any chance? The second one
I
was
saw the second one,
okay, with
like, but it
Kirsten
was like,
Dunst in it, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was on because I used to work at a mom and pop video store back in the early 2000s, so I
Uh-huh.
watched way too many movies,
Right.
and that was one of them. And I had a girlfriend like the year or two before that was really into The Crow, so we watched it a lot. And then that came out, and we watched it, and I was less than impressed, but
Yeah, I feel like
you know,
maybe I saw
yeah,
it like parts in passing on back when I was younger and had more time and better cable.
yeah,
But yeah, it's odd because it is directed by Tim Pope. You'd think I would have really watched it, but I think I just got that like made for straight to cable feeling from it. I don't even remember
yeah,
it being
yeah.
released or anything very widely anyway. So
It's
yeah,
such a like a weird movie to do of a sequel just because of what happened to Brandon Lee.
right.
It just seems kind of weird that they would have done it. And then there were soundtracks, relatively decent soundtracks for the second movie and the third.
Oh wow.
For what they were going for. I think the
Yeah.
third one was a lot of like heavier like new metal bands.
Right.
The second one had a pretty decent lineup of something that I would probably listen to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the third one I was totally out on, but I didn't even see the movie. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see if this gets off the ground of a full reboot of the original source material.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they would include a lot of that music
Yeah.
that's in the comic of, I'd like to hear, of course, The Cure with Hanging Garden would be great.
Yeah.
A bunch of Joy Division, Bauhaus. Trying to think of who else he was into at the time that's in the magazine, but I know he's a big Iggy Pop fan, so
Right.
I would love to hear some of the music reflected in the actual movie
Yeah.
rather than trying to modernize it and
Yeah.
trying,
Rehash
uh,
anything. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm not hating on the guy, but I don't really want to hear a Post Malone Cure
yeah. Yeah.
or
Cover
like, or
burn.
yeah, yeah, or like his own like Crow type of song.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
So
yeah,
if they're smart, they'll at least have him cover Hanging Garden or something.
yeah.
But no, I
Speaking of
don't.
covers,
Uh-huh.
really quick, did you hear the Miley Cyrus cover of Boys Don't Cry?
I did,
What'd you
unfortunately.
think?
Horrible. I hate her
Really?
so much. Yeah,
Oh
I can't
man.
get over it. I have family that stick by her and say, "No, you'd be surprised," and I'm like, I just can't get over it. I wasn't into it. Were you surprised, pleasantly surprised, or?
I was a little surprised. I'm glad that it was for a good cause. Like it went
Yeah,
to helping venues stay open, which is great of her. I mean, she doesn't need to do that. She's like a multi-billionaire or whatever.
right.
But so I think that's cool. I thought the cover was pretty decent. I've heard worse. It
Yeah, I
wasn't a
mean, she just
country cover of.
right.
I've heard a country cover of a Cure song and it was terrible. I don't remember
Yeah.
what song it was, but it could have been 1,000 times worse. But I
Yeah,
admire the fact that it
she
was
always
done for
just
a good
seems like she's
cause.
played dress up to me or something. I don't know. I just
Yeah,
don't buy it. I think it's just always so like I just don't trust anyone that came out of Billy Ray Cyrus's balls. I can't trust, so. So yeah, I'll never be one of her probably. But yeah, she was just I don't know. It was straightforward though. At least she didn't try to, like you said, make it country or you know
yeah,
dance
yeah,
version or anything. So
yeah. But I mean, I think we've talked about this before. There's something about a cover that like it kind of bothers me when people do like note for note ripoffs.
yeah,
And I want to hear you do the song in your own form.
yeah,
So I almost would kind of want to hear a like dance version of "Boys Don't Cry" from her, just
Yeah, I
just for
mean,
shits and giggles. I'm not like because it was more or less like a note for note kind of
yeah, just like
cover,
kind
but
of
yeah,
punkier or whatever. I don't know even,
yeah,
but yeah, she would be the one where she should have changed it up entirely because I don't really know what the fuck is the true Hannah Montana or whatever, It's like, it's
yeah,
like what is your deal, So I wasn't really like she was doing it in her authentic raspy voice or whatever, It's just kind of like,
yeah.
all right, whatever, And then those dudes playing in the band just looked like such session musician douchebags to me. I was just like, what? Who are these fucking hired dudes? It's like she probably didn't even know any of them's names,
Unless her touring band, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
So, let me give you my favorite joke.
Uh,
What do they call Miley Cyrus in Europe?
hmm. Don't know.
Kilometery Cyrus.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I tell that joke at work all the time, and people like either they get it right away or they just look at me and are like, because of the metric
Miley?
system.
Yeah. How much Cyrus? Miley Cyrus. But
We diverted off the track of the crow, but yeah, it was pertinent, like recent
totally
news. So.
current news. Yeah, we were on top of current stuff. This will come out this weekend. So I guess as we wrap up, did you have any final thoughts on this? I think.
I just think it's a fantastic song by fantastic people. Um, Again, it's perfect bookend for Boris.
Yeah.
And I wish that Robert would write more music like this.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how like I said, lightning in the bottle moment this was, or if this was something that they kind of jokingly felt like they just cranked out standing on their heads real quick. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't really know, but I totally agree. It's such a perfect send off for Boris, and classic Cure sound, really. I mean, it is kind of that epic farewell to that golden era too, in a sense.
yeah.
So it's a
It also had a good mix of like what was going on at the time, with
mm-hmm.
just how hard the song was, and you could put it side to side with a Nine Inch Nails song,
Yeah.
and it would work. So I really admire that, that they were able to Robert and Boris were able to progress with the sound and change in the music,
Mm-hmm.
but still keep to the roots of like what they were trying to do and what their sound is. I mean, for a band that doesn't really have a sound, they have a sound,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's crazy.
yeah.
Totally
So
agree. So
yeah, get the Crow soundtrack. Uh,
watch it on
Watch the
Halloween.
movie. Yeah, watch the movie or the day before Halloween for Devil's Night, and
Yeah.
yeah, just enjoy yourself. And I would read The Crow and listen and try to find stuff on James O'Barr and read up about him. It just makes the comic a lot more meaningful.
Yeah. It'd be a good one to
So
have for Cure collections too. I think I would like
yeah,
to just have
yeah,
that in there with the books and stuff. As far as having Charlotte sometimes and the Crew. You know what I mean? It'd be a good
yeah,
one just to have
yeah,
on the shelf. I don't have it, so.
yeah. I should have bought it when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just so nervous. Like I walked by him like four times before I went up to him, and like so I think I met Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the WWF wrestler,
Yeah.
like a couple tables over. So I think that like got me pumped up to just walk over and talk to him. So
That's
yeah,
a lot for one evening. That's
yeah, two different worlds there.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Pretty
it was
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah, I met the Hellraiser.
Nice.
So that was cool too. Yeah, I had a picture of my oldest son next to him.
Cool.
So yeah,
Well, sounds like the perfect Halloween song to me, and I hope
absolutely.
everybody cranks it up and has a good, safe Halloween out there as we start to sign off. And be safe, be
Wear
good,
a
but
mask.
still have fun. Don't let COVID ruin your Halloween, though.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself.
When it takes Halloween from us, COVID is truly won.
Yeah.
But if you can have all the other holidays, just don't fuck with Halloween, man. This is gonna be a good one too. I'm like,
that's the one thing I'm looking forward to. Like was Halloween, just because Christmas and Thanksgiving give me so much stress.
Yeah.
That like Halloween is the only one where I'm just like, yeah, it's a stress-free holiday.
I think it's gonna be a blue moon too, or something. Some kind of full blue moon or something, and get the extra hour because of daylight savings. And what else?
Yeah, it was like a
Saturday. Come on, man.
People have been looking forward to this day for like 20 years. Like they're just like, oh my God, the moon's gonna be out, and like all this is gonna be on a Saturday. And like they're just like going through everything, and like everything's lining up, and then this happens. So just stay safe. If you got kids, if you're gonna trick or treat, just be careful, be safe. Don't be around a large group of people. Parents, enjoy the parent tax on the candy. And make sure you vote a couple days later.
For sure, or shit will get really scary. So we'll see.
Yeah. No Halloweens ever again.
Yeah. It will totally take it away. It will sense how much fun we had. I guess leading up to that real quick while I have you here, it might be a rare coincidence that since this will come out on actual Halloween, and our next episode is going to be a feature where we called up a fella, Eric, in Ottawa, and we talked about the song Faith. So we have a Faith episode coming up, and you have a long sleeve T-shirt that I believe will still be up for pre-order.
Yeah, it's still going to be up for another week. I was definitely inspired by the episode that we did, and because it forced me to listen to Faith. Like, I know we're going to talk about in the episode. It's a really hard album to listen to. I know for some people, but I know for me, it definitely is. It's one where I got to take a journey that I don't like to go on, but I fucking love that album. So it's such a weird situation. So, and it took me a while to come up with something, just because I hate putting just album covers on front of the T-shirt and, hey, here you go. Buy this Hot Topic too,
Right.
So, I'm not an artist, so don't expect drawings from me, but like I hopefully I put stuff together that people like. It's
a good one. I'm all in favor of it. It looks awesome, and
thank you.
The more long sleeves, the better too. That's great.
Absolutely.
So go check that out, people out there. Be sure to snag it before the pre-order's up at 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com, right?
Yes.
Right.
Or just go to @17_seconds on Instagram if you can't remember that long address, and there's a lot of S's in it. So
sounds good. Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for this wonderful holiday treat.
Yes, thank you, and I'm sorry for the audio issues.
No problem. Came back. All right, until next time, happy Halloween out there.
Happy Halloween.
Talk hard. All right, again, special thanks to Chaz for the spontaneous call-up and recording of this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And be sure to subscribe to the Holy Hour podcast on Apple Podcast, and also go on over to that YouTube page and subscribe there. And don't forget, all the oldies are on that YouTube page. But if you want to wait in suspense as they gradually re-upload, we'll be doing that every other week. And we'll throw up some of the old Halloween episodes too after this one passed, to keep the holiday rolling into the new month even. What else we got? Instagram. The Whole Hour podcast is on Instagram, so go over there and follow us for the most up-to-date information and statements about the podcast. And you can always email me directly, gavinconnor@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, concerns, ideas for shows, or if you want to send me your any Cure-related Halloween photos for this year, if you do any Cure costumes of any sort, we always love to see those. So just send them to gavinconnor@gmail.com. We'll post them in the thread for this episode. And we'd appreciate it. I know one of you out there is going to do it this year. Do the old Robert Smith dress up. So I hope you had a great Halloween. Hope you're having a great Halloween. And let's just keep everyday Halloween from here on out. Why not, right? It's the only way to save this fucking year. So until then, happy Halloween again.